or even two-year colleges. I think that we push them too much toward technical careers.
You need to push them to what they want to be.
There needs to be a
If they want to be a carpenter, that's a perfecly legit.
And those kind of classes and people who are trained to do that, I think we should be offering more of those types.
We don't have enough. We don't have enough. For example, we have auto mechanics, but we have 2,000. We have 2,000 students, yet we only have enough space for so many. And how many of those kids actually want to be mechanic? A lot of them.
Well, you see a trend. You can see the trend. The district is moving towards that. They're building a high school just for programs like that. The CTE high school, that's all it's going to be. And other districts are doing the same thing. I mean, school districts are catching on, just possibly way too late in the game.
Because we had a school like that when I was back then, but it was shocking not to see it here.
Well, I think that the reason why districts moved away from that in recent years is because there was disproportionate numbers of minority students or students with special needs attending those schools, and I guess on paper it looks like a civil rights issue, like we're trying to resegregate the schools.
Well, look, my father's president of a small company, and they make parts for various companies like Schlumberger and other things. He has about 200 employees. You walk through a shop and he'll point out that less than a quarter of his employees were born and raised in the United States. Most of his employees are from Latin America, Southeast Asia, with a few from Africa. And he loves to say, I would kill to hire more people that were born and raised in the United States. But we just don't do the training anymore. So we need more vocation. I've had kids come to me and say, I'd love to be a machinist. It's like, well, I hear Lone Star has a good program, and that's all I can tell them.
I think too, I don't know if you touched on this, but what we do sometimes too, instead of these kids, like we put them in, like no offense to before, but we put these kids in these elective classes that are just a dumping ground for kids that don't have anywhere else to go. And these kids have no interest in it. It causes problems within the school, and they're just stuck there. And this is really, it's great that they have these classes, but if they don't want to be there, they're not getting anything from it.
You're exactly right. I've had kids come into the class and, what is this? They have no clue as to what they're in. Oh, I didn't sign up for this. Yes, I'm aware of this. And my goal is to not make you despise the subject when you leave.
Finding electives for students to go to is definitely an issue. I know that we have seniors who only have 1 or 2 classes that they actually need, and their schedule is full with whatever is available for them. I don't know why they can't just send them home. Okay, so let's start shifting gears towards a project that can address one of the issues that we've discussed. The things that stood out to me were that we have a high dropout rate for our English language learners. We don't have any support for the male teen parents in our building. We have a low turnout for clubs and athletics. And what we've been talking about most recently are post-secondary readiness and options available. So, is anyone being struck with inspiration at the moment? Or do we want to vote on which topic to address?
If you're going to do something, you need to, as much as you want to change the world, focus it on what you can change it in as if you're really serious about it. Because you're not going to change some of those things that are too high up the ladder for us to touch. Unless you're going to somehow sponsor someone to go to Austin and hang out and be a lobbyist, which I've suggested. But anyway, I volunteered, but they wouldn't pay my salary. So But no, but you need to focus it on,
We'll send you.
you need to focus it on, an Emmett's saying that you can actually control or at least have input on some of those issues that you brought up or outside of ours, out of your scope or our scope, however you want to put it.
Okay,
Okay.
so let me throw some ideas out there. You guys can just give feedback on what you think. Regarding the ELL dropout rate, you can do a mentoring program specifically for ELL
Yeah,
students.
that's our plan for next year. We really feel like the boys need mentors that are males that can talk to them and, you know, they can express anything that they want to. And the females, the same thing. So we're going to be looking for sponsors for kids. And it doesn't just have to, we don't want it just to be just Hispanic sponsors. We want it to be open to everybody, you know, open to talk to, like for example, I'm sure at first when they first walk into a regular class, they're really intimidated by their teachers, you know, because they're used to just focusing, okay, Miss Smith is just the only teacher that can teach us social studies. You're gonna have some next year, right? So we are looking for people that, and we're gonna be looking for people that can mentor them, maybe have like a monthly meeting or maybe something, because they come with a lot of baggage. Those kids come with a lot of baggage and they do need people they can trust. So that's one of the things that we want to do. I know the district is focusing for ELLs for newcomers. They're focusing on a program similar to that to bring to each school, but I'm not exactly sure what it entails. They're going to start it next year.
What about like a peer mentoring thing? Like, have you thought about maybe pairing up some of your kids who have been mainstreamed with some
Yeah,
new
we actually
lessons?
invite the ones that started as ELLs to come speak to the kids. Yeah, we're getting older, but you know, we really want this. It's taking us longer than the regular students. So sometimes we invite them to come. If there's a teacher that I know that has been an ELL, we've invited them also. And we want them to see that it's possible.
Okay, sounds like you've got that covered. What about support for teenage male parents? Do you think that is a big enough issue that there should be something on campus?
Doesn't the pregnancy counselor now work also with the males? With the
I've never
fathers?
seen a male in there when I pass by, not that I hang around outside that door watching who's going in. I'm weird, but not that way.
I'm gonna say, I
But-
don't know, but to suggest to her to do that, I'm sure she already
Or
does.
like maybe parenting classes? We could have males and females attend.
Yeah, because with those dolls, you pretty much only see the females with them, right? You know, the little light dolls.
Yeah, that's for the
The child
child
Oh,
care
child care
class,
and
yeah.
development.
But let's see, I wonder if there's anything in place for them to learn, you know, how to communicate as a couple or co-parents if they're not still together, and how to raise a child. Do you guys know of anything like that here?
I'm gonna guess
No,
not for the males.
not for the males, because, you know, unfortunately, in almost every society, you know, since it's the female that carries the kid, she's the one that winds up doing the grunt work, for lack of a better term.
I don't know how that works financially. If females get, does the support only come from government? I don't know if that kid doesn't have a job. I'm imagining there's not much support unless they're, like we talked about earlier, dropping out and getting a job. I don't know if there's any, I don't know. I mean, those are things I don't know. We can research.
Yeah, okay, so a parenting class, or program might be an option.
Which we could do like a scared straight type thing, you know, to scare the kids into not having them. You know, look, here's what it's like to have a child screaming at you every night.
Yeah, I think that's what those babies for
Yeah.
the child development class are, and,
Well, okay, it works for a couple of girls, but the boys are still like, and.
okay, and then another thing that I think we might be able to do something about on this campus would be the low turnout or lack of participation in clubs and activities and sports. If we could think of a way to better advertise the opportunities that are available to students.
We're trying.
Okay,
We're
so
trying.
what is student council considered for that?
Well, okay, the goal for student council, we jokingly call it our regime change, is to basically make the student council the umbrella organization for everything else outside of sports, because, sports, y'all are your own animal, there's UIL considerations and everything, but basically to make student council the interface with all the other clubs, so if there's something going on, there should be a student council component there. Not that we want to take over, we want to make things easier for everybody else.
Like have a representative at each event?
Yeah, or at least, it's like, how can student council make sure that there's not a conflict between these two different events that are going on, so we can attract as many kids as we can to it? Or just to make people, hold their head up high and say, yes, I come to Nimitz, and I'm proud of that. That's one of our biggest goals. And it's going to take us several years to do it. But, that's the dream. That's the medal at the end of it.
So, I know that we hear on announcements when clubs are meeting, or some people put up posters. I'm thinking maybe since there's a lack of any sort of school news program, we could at least record people giving a spiel about their organization, and have a YouTube link, and teachers could show it during one of their classes maybe.
Third period. Well, no, because that's also
The most important class of the day.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, remember, we used to have those TVs, Channel 1.
Yeah, if we could bring
And
some
that
of
was
Channel
something
1
like
back.
that was interesting, and it came on automatically, displayed whatever it was, and then it went off.
What period was that during?
It was during our
Third, it
Well, it was third period.
would have been
during
considered
that
third
time.
period.
But that was something that at least everyone, it was
Another
visual.
And other schools have TVs in the hallway that do announcements
Yes.
randomly. There's the weather's going on, there's random messages throughout the day, big screen TVs at the end of their hallways that are always going.
Or even one of those little, what do you call them, with the little lights that just scroll news by?
Tickers,
Blanket.
stock.
And the thing about it, the unfortunate thing about here is, and there's always possibility, but having stuff like this, like that,
My first thought too, don't feel bad,
It-
it's gonna get destroyed.
and so I think a handle in discipline, honestly, like a good handle in discipline, I think kids would feel more positive about their school.
Yeah.
Well,
But that's a tough.
Back to an achievable on-campus project
Well,
here.
I like the idea of somehow getting some form of school news program that, nothing against Doc, but, if she, or when she's not here, one of the other APs has to run in, they just spit out the announcements as fast as they can, and a lot of teachers ignore them.
Would you be willing to give up 10 minutes of one of your classes to show a school news program once a week?
We give it up for announcements anyway, so.
That's where they can have their announcements, right?
I have a feeling you have an opinion about this.
Sure, during third period. That's the most important period of the day.
There's a lot of third periods now are gonna be switched to for credit classes too.
Yeah.
Put that into account.
So,
Lunch is the
What
most
about the,
important.
what about the cafeteria before school?
Yeah.
What about the monitors? Cause they have all those new monitors in the cafeteria.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
How about before school have like
Yeah,
no
scroll
more?
them.
Even
There's two
lunch.
big ones in there, there's two huge ones.
And
You
they
can
don't
use the- you
use-
can do the projectors
The
too.
cafeteria staff don't.
Are you talking for school news,
yeah, have a dedicated school news.
Well, during
Say,
lunch,
I'll
they
try
use
out
them
for this.
for the menus, don't
Yeah.
they? But breakfast, there's no menu.